At the Multi-Gen Mindset Institute, we study the structures beneath human behavior, the patterns behind success, and the laws that govern personal transformation. Welcome to the Institute.
Like and share to change a life.
Hold fast to the great form within, and let the world pass as it may. Then the changes of life will not bring pain, but contentment, joy, and well-being. One may look for fulfillment in this world, but his longings will never be exhausted. This is a scripture from the Tao Te Ching. And when I listen to this scripture, when I read the scripture, it discusses discontentment and exhaustion. And then it discusses contentment, joy, and well-being. And it brings up changes in life. There's opportunities at every turn and every day to feel discontentment, to feel upset, to feel frustration. And then there's invitations to look at these situations with different perspectives. And it definitely seems that perspective is the power that you hold over how you experience your life. This scripture could say that some people experience contentment, joy, and well-being as they move through their life, and others feel discontentment, sadness as they move through their life. And then it points a distinction between people who find fulfillment in this life and then those whose longings are never exhausted. And I ask you, which one are you? Which person are you from the scripture? And what is the difference between somebody who, no matter what happens, no matter what comes at them, is unmoved? That is a power. And it's the power of perspective. It's the power of being grounded in a truth and a realization that makes you unmovable, that makes you unbreakable, that makes you impossible to defeat. And if we could say that there was an enemy in life, that enemy's objective would be to cause you to be in a state of unhappiness. And if that was true, are you letting the enemy win today? Is there something in your life that's not going how you want it to? Is there something or somebody that's not performing in life as you need them to for you to be okay? Did somebody walk out of your life or not enter your life when you wanted them to? Did you not get a deal that you wanted, or a job that you wanted, or a house that you wanted? Is your body not behaving the way that you want your body to behave? To me, this scripture also speaks of attachment. And other scriptures in the Tao Te Ching, we read about attachment, and that when you are grounded in the attachments of this world, which is ever changing, then you yourself are ever changing along with that, and states and conditions of unhappiness and discontentment, and also frustration. One could say that frustration is when something doesn't go your way. One could say that frustration is when an expectation is not met. And we can become frustrated at ourselves. We can become frustrated at life. We can become frustrated at our spouses, our friends, our lovers, our businesses, our churches. Frustration is when you have a bearing on something that you want to go a certain way. You have a value, an expectation, and an expectation is an attachment, and an attachment is a need. And when you have a need out of life for anything to be a certain way, it's inevitable that you're going to find discontentment and frustration. And it says here to hold fast to the great form within. In other words, inside of us is a spirit, something that has always been and always will be. And finding out who that spirit is, that is you. And the deeper inside of yourself that you go, you'll notice that there's a part of you that will never die and has always been. Another verse in Scripture states, one who conquers himself is all-powerful. One who remains content where he is surely gets everything. And one who gives himself to his position surely lives long. And one who gives himself to Tao surely lives forever. What these two scriptures combined means is that there's a person inside of yourself that you must conquer, and that you also can't conquer this person with force, but this is the version of yourself that is attached to the things of this life going a certain way, and with that comes an inherent weakness. It says that one who approaches life with force surely gets something, but one who remains content where he is surely gets everything. What that means is that the way to get everything that you've ever wanted is to not want anything at all. And in other scriptures in the Tao Te Ching, we talk about wants and desires, and how, yes, it's human to want to be healthier, to want to make more money, to want and desire to have a better marriage or a marriage. It's inevitable that you're going to grow as a human and want to grow as a human and have things that you didn't have and have bigger things and more things. The collection of things, cars and people and friends. And at the same time, that's naturally an innate version of you, it's also not necessary. It's the attachment to these things that causes your weakness, that causes you pain and dissatisfaction. It's one thing to want something to be different. It's another thing to want something to be different and then be mad that you don't have it. Because based upon the law of attraction, you can't want something and then be mad that you don't have it and then also attract it. Because anger and frustration and resentment are the opposite things that would attract in what you want in the first place. And it seems like the safe place is absolute acceptance of what is as it is. And that's why it says, one who remains content where he is surely gets everything. The next quote says, one who gives himself to his position surely lives long. And in that, what I find is purpose. And for me, when it speaks about the great form within, and that one who gives himself to his position, to me that means purpose. Defining what my purpose is and being content with that. Because if I know what my absolute purpose is every day of this earth, and I know that I'm living that purpose to my fullness every day that I'm on this earth, in that, somehow, I'm able to find peaceful contentment, no matter what circumstances I find myself in. So I ask you right now to analyze and look at the areas of your life where you're noticing dissatisfaction and you're noticing discontentment, and find out what it is that you want to be different that's causing you this pain, and get into a relationship of acceptance, absolute acceptance and peace with what is, peace with yourself of where you are, an acceptance of where you are, an acknowledgement and a love of where you are. Because where you are is where you are. You're not anywhere else. And if you're upset and frustrated about who and where you are, then it's almost impossible to be and get somewhere else. When things in your life go a certain way, The way out of those things is to find acceptance and peace with exactly who and where you are. Because anything other than that would be discontentment.
Like and share to change a life.
At the Multi-Gen Mindset Institute, we study the structures beneath human behavior, the patterns behind success, and the laws that govern personal transformation. Welcome to the Institute.